In the early 2000s, an Arizona high school teacher with no prior criminal record became the center of one of the most controversial sentencing cases in American legal history. This is the story of Morton Berger, the man who received 200 years in prison for possessing illegal images, and why his case still fuels a national debate about justice, punishment, and the law. Morton Berger was born in 1951 in Phoenix, Arizona. He lived a relatively quiet life, spending over 2 decades as a respected history teacher at Cortez High School. By all appearances, he was an ordinary man. No criminal record, no scandals, and no complaints from students or parents. But behind closed doors, Berger was hiding a secret life. Over 6 years, he had been downloading illegal material from websites involving the exploitation of children, quietly building a digital archive of thousands of files. He didn't distribute the content. He didn't have contact with the victims. But he possessed it, and that was enough to bring his world crashing down. In mid-2002, Arizona authorities were tracking credit card purchases linked to illicit websites. Berger's name came up. On July 30th, police raided his home and found over 20,000 images of child sexual abuse material. He cooperated with law enforcement and admitted guilt. He was charged with 35 felony counts of sexual exploitation of a minor, one for each image prosecutors chose to file. In Arizona, each count carries a mandatory minimum of 10 years, and sentences must be served consecutively, not concurrently. Berger declined a plea deal. Some believe he underestimated the severity of the sentence. Others say he wanted to stand on principle and face trial. In court, Berger's defense acknowledged the crime but emphasized that he had never physically harmed a child. He was remorseful, had no prior criminal behavior, and was found to pose no direct threat to children. The prosecution, however, stressed that every image represented real children being harmed, and each download helped fuel a dark and abusive industry. As a teacher, they said, Berger's betrayal was particularly disturbing. In the end, the jury convicted him on 20 counts. Because of Arizona's strict laws, the judge had no discretion. Even though Berger was a first-time offender, he was sentenced to 200 years in prison, with no parole, no probation, and no early release. The sentence shocked the legal world. Legal scholars, media outlets, and even some judges called it excessive. Berger's sentence was longer than those given to most murderers, serial rapists, or armed robbers. Critics said the punishment didn't fit the crime, especially since Berger hadn't created the images or hurt anyone directly. Articles appeared nationwide. 200 years for pictures? Justice or injustice? And yet, under Arizona's law at the time, the judge was bound. Berger's sentence wasn't a glitch. It was a feature of a uniquely rigid statute. He was once praised as one of the best teachers in the U.S. military school system overseas. But behind classroom walls, Stefan Zepay was hiding a secret, one that would take over a decade to surface and leave a trail of trauma that shocked communities on both sides of the Atlantic. This is the story of Stefan Zepay, the former Department of Defense teacher, whose fall from grace became one of the most disturbing cases of abuse in U.S. military-run schools abroad. Stefan Zepay was a longtime elementary school teacher, working for the Department of Defense Education Activity, also known as DoD-A. These schools serve American children living on U.S. military bases around the world. Zepay taught at Patch Elementary School in Stuttgart, Germany, a well-respected institution within the DoD-A system. He specialized in early grades, teaching children as young as 6. In 2007, Zepay was even awarded Teacher of the Year for the Bavaria District, a title that highlighted his perceived dedication and trustworthiness. Parents respected him, colleagues admired his classroom energy, and his students, many of them children of deployed service members, trusted him. But not everything was as it seemed. In 2020, nearly a decade after Zepay had taught some of his students, one of them came forward. That individual, now a young adult, told authorities that Zepay had inappropriately touched them when they were just a child. This wasn't just a single incident. As investigators dug deeper, more former students spoke up. Ultimately, 4 children came forward, each with similar allegations involving unwanted touching, some under clothing, some while sitting on his lap, and some instances repeated over time. These actions reportedly occurred during the 2000s and early 2010s in Zepay's classroom, while he was actively employed by Dodier. The children were between the ages of 6 and 8. Ricardo Ortiz was a public school teacher at Horizon High School in El Paso, Texas. By all outward appearances, he was a respected educator who worked with young students and had no public record of misconduct. But in 2020, Ortiz's life took a dark turn when he became the subject of a federal investigation. The man trusted to teach and protect children was soon arrested for attempting to engage in illegal conduct with minors. Ortiz was caught as part of an undercover FBI sting called Operation Cerberus. Federal agents posed as underage individuals online. Ortiz believed he was communicating with a 14-year-old and arranged to meet in person. But when he arrived, he wasn't met by a teenager. Instead, FBI agents were waiting. He was immediately taken into custody. Following his arrest, federal authorities uncovered digital evidence on Ortiz's devices, including illicit material and communications with multiple minors. He was formally charged with 3 counts of coercion and enticement of a minor, 1 count of possession of material involving the sexual exploitation of children. These are serious federal offenses under U.S. law. Each coercion charge carries a possible sentence of up to life in prison. Ortiz did not go to trial. Instead, in March 2022, he pleaded guilty to all charges. This meant he accepted responsibility for his actions in exchange for avoiding a lengthy court case. The plea agreement allowed the court to proceed directly to sentencing. Prosecutors emphasized the pattern of harmful online behavior and the abuse of power by someone in a position of trust. The arrest of Ricardo Ortiz sent shockwaves through the El Paso community. Parents and students were stunned. Many wondered how such conduct could go undetected by the school system. District officials placed Ortiz on administrative leave immediately and cooperated with law enforcement. But the Equi way,